I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast.
Throughout history, there have been times when the veil between our world and the supernatural things, those caught in the middle, have witnessed the collision between the world of the natural and that of the spirit. These events come and go, leaving us to speculate of what is behind these mysterious encounters.
Hello and welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hopwood. On September 12, 1952, in the town of Flatwoods, located in Braxton County, West Virginia, at about 7:15 p.m., 3 boys witnessed a bright reddish ball of light that appeared to come to rest on nearby land owned by a local farmer, G. Bailey Fisher. The boys, Edward and Fred May, and their friend Tommy Heyer, went to the May brothers' home and reported what they saw to their mother, Kathleen May. Miss May would take the group of kids and the 17-year-old West Virginia National Guardsman, Eugene Lemon, out to see where the bright object landed. When they arrived on the Fisher farm, Eugene Lemon's dog went ahead of the group, running around the hill, leaving their sight. They heard the dog start to bark, and they saw it come running back to the group with its tail between its legs. The 2 older boys of the group, Lemon and Neil Nunley, reached the top of the hill first. They reported seeing a big ball of fire, about the size of a house, 50 feet to their right. When looking to the left of the hill, underneath an old oak tree, they noticed 2 small blue lights. All around them was a sickening burnt metallic odor that made their eyes and nose burn. At Miss May's suggestion, Eugene Lemon shined his flashlight on the 2 small blue lights. The illumination of the flashlights revealed a creature approximately 10 feet tall, with a red glowing face and a green body. The back of the head was shaped like an ace of spades, or heart. Its eyes were bulging and distinctively non-human. Its body seemed man-shaped and was dressed in a dark, pleated skirt. Miss May recalled the creature having short, stubby arms that ended in long, claw-like fingers. The arms protruded from the front of the body. Some of the others would not see any arms. When Lemon had shown the flashlight upon it, the creature let out a shrill, hissing noise, and it began to move towards the group. The 10-foot creature seemed to glide at them and change directions, and went off in the direction of the ball of fiery light. The shock of the encounter caused Eugene Lemon to faint. The panicked group dragged him along as they fled the area. When Miss May arrived home, she contacted the local sheriff, Robert Carr, and a Mr. A. Lee Stewart, the co-owner of the Braxton Democrat, the area newspaper. Sheriff Carr and his deputy, Burnell Long, searched the area and reported no trace of evidence of their encounter. Approximately a half hour after Miss May called Mr. A. Lee Stewart, he arrived at their home to interview the group. He noticed the witnesses were still disturbed by their encounter and were barely able to communicate what had happened. Mr. Stewart was convinced that the witnesses had truly encountered something that scared them. Later that evening, Stewart would return to the site with Eugene Lemon. Stewart noticed the strong odor was still in the air. Stewart would also return the next morning on Saturday, the 13th of September. He noted 2 long tracks in the mud and traces of thick black liquid in the direction of the area of matted grass. Stewart took this as a possible evidence of a UFO landing, based on the assumption that no vehicle traffic had gone through there in over a year. Unknown to Stewart, the tracks were more likely caused by a local Max Lockard's 1942 Chevy pickup truck. When he searched the area several hours before Stewart arrived, Stewart would put the encounter in his paper, the Braxton Democrat. The creature would later be called the Flatwoods Monster. Other accounts of strange lights and encounters with this monster would come to light 1 week before beautician Kathleen May and Eugene Lemon's sighting. A mother and daughter from the town of Weston claimed to have encountered a similar creature in appearance and odor. This encounter left the 21-year-old daughter in the Clarksburg hospital for 3 weeks. Bailey Fram, a resident of nearby Birch River, reported seeing a bright orange ball that circled the area that the Flatwood monster was sighted in. He said it was visible for 15 minutes before it veered off and left the area. The mother of Eugene Lemon stated that at the approximate time the May brothers and their friend Tommy Heyer spotted the bright object landing, her house shook and her radio stopped working for 45 minutes. The director of the local board of education claimed to see a flying saucer take off at 6:30 in the morning of September 13th. Years later, a couple would come forward claiming that on the evening following the September 12th sighting of the Flatwoods monster, at a location 10 to 15 minutes southwest of Farmer Bailey Fisher's property, they saw a 10-foot tall creature which emitted a noxious odor. It came towards their car, which had stalled, and then it returned to the woods. Moments later, a luminous pulsating sphere arose from the trees and flew into the night sky. Conventional theories on what Kathleen May and her group witnessed revolved around the idea that the fireball or bright light witnessed by people on that night of September 12th was a meteor. A meteor had been spotted in 3 states, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, and was reported to have crashed into the side of a hill at Elk River, approximately 11 miles southwest of the Fisher farm. And the 10-foot tall figure with the ace of spades shaped head was a common barn owl, silhouetted against the trees. In any case, when a fantastic story is reported and there is no credible physical evidence, all that we have to go on is the eyewitness testimony, and that is only as good as the people reporting it. It's hard for me to believe that no one could identify a barn owl after they had shown a flashlight on it. In the early 1990s, Kathleen May recounted being interviewed by 2 alleged reporters who later told her that they worked for the government. There may be more to the Flatwoods monster than meteors and barn owls. The state of West Virginia would again see a strange flying being within its borders 14 years after the Flatwood monster incident. This time, Point Pleasant would be the town visited by a creature dubbed the Mothman. The first Mothman sighting would occur near the West Virginia town of Clendenin. 5 men were preparing a grave for burial when something took off from the trees and flew over their heads. The men were puzzled because the creature didn't look like a bird. It looked like a brown human being with wings. The day would be November 12, 1966. 3 days later, events would begin in Point Pleasant that would continue for over a year. November 15, 1966, 2 young couples from Point Pleasant were traveling at night. Roger and Linda Scarberry and Stephen Mary Millette, and also one of the Millette's younger cousins, Lonnie Button, was traveling with them in the car. They passed a building that was once an old West Virginia ordnance factory. This was an abandoned World War II TNT factory that became part of the McClintock Wildlife Management Area. This sprawling 2,500-acre reserve is 7 miles from the town of Point Pleasant. The passengers in the car noticed 2 red lights in the shadows by an old generator plant near the factory gate. They stopped the car to look at where the lights were coming from. Then they saw the glowing red lights were eyes.